Hello and welcome back to Random Librarian here on YouTube. Today I am so excited because I found a movie that I've been wanting to watch for a really long time on Pluto TV, which is an app that does live TV and it's free for the user because they put ads on it. So if you don't like ads, it's not the one for you, but they have a lot of great shows that I really enjoy. They used to have a Leverage channel, which is like my favorite TV show of all time, and that was just made my day when I found out. And they also have an on-demand section, and in this on-demand section I recently found out that they have Party Girl, which is a 1995 indie film comedy drama starring Parker Posey. And I'm just going to read you the description real quick. Although Mary has little income, she still finds ways to spend her nights at clubs. After being arrested for throwing an illegal rave, she asks her Aunt Judy, played by Sacha von Scherler, for bail money. Judy then finds Mary a job at her library so that Mary can repay her. Initially, Mary finds the job as a clerk boring and stifling and prefers to get to know a street food vendor, played by Omar Townsend, whom she likes. However, Mary must refocus her life once she loses her job and apartment. That is a weird description, not gonna lie. It's what comes up on Google. And apparently this is rated R, which I find interesting. And it has a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. As you can probably tell from the description, the reason that I've been interested in watching it is because it takes place in a library. Also, it's always on those lists of like best librarians in media kind of things. And it apparently has this like iconic scene where she berates a patron. So there might be a little bit of like things I wish I could say in this. I will find out. So without further ado, I guess let's start. I am only gonna probably react to a few key scenes from the movie, but I will leave the link to Pluto TV if I can, the direct link to Party Girl, if you feel like watching it as well, because I don't want to take away the joy of watching this librarian film for the first time for you guys. Let's get into it. You have to say that the introduction to this movie, and at least to get to the part where we're at the library, is so long, so long. It's only 6.5 minutes, but it feels so much longer. But we get our first introduction. I do kind of like that they're not trying to say that she's in the New York Public Library, like, main branch. We don't walk up on those beautiful lions or anything. It's a much smaller library. Maybe things are different because it's nepotism, but getting a job, even volunteering at the New York Public Library, is probably a little bit harder than just being assigned it as punishment by your aunt. But this is our first view of the desk. Because it is 1995, I already see a reference section right against the circulation desk, which is lovely. The wood paneling is really nice. We've already got some people using the library.
Excuse me, could you tell me where I can find Judy Lindendorf?
And you were looking for?
Hannah Arendt, the historian.
Of course. Over there you'll find the 300s, social science.
Hi, Judy. Brought you falafel. You know, in all the excitement last night, we forgot to arrange for that loan we had talked about. Can you believe it? I think I have a police brutality case. I really do. Okay, $100. Now that should do until my cash flow situation clears up. 80. You're tough. $60. It's my final offer.
Loan, in addition to the bail money?
You know I'm good for it.
Quite the contrary. Phone calls from the slammer do not inspire fiscal confidence. What are you going to do?
About what?
About money. There's still your rent, the lawyer for your court date. That bail cost me. Where do you work?
I'm freelancing.
Why don't you get a job as a waitress?
I am not a waitress.
All right, then. Why don't you try to get a job at a cleaning shop?
Do you realize how broke I am? What do you want me to do, huh? I don't have a job. I'm a loser. Shoot me.
Do you have a problem with modern European political thought in general, or is it a particular vendetta against Hannah Arendt?
Excuse me?
Hannah Arendt. Every single Hannah Arendt book on the shelf was out of sequence.
I am so sorry. You must understand we are reeling from budget cuts.
Right.
What a dick.
He's not a dick, he's a patron. I lost 2 dedicated clerks last month because I couldn't afford to pay them a competitive wage. They make more money at McDonald's. You know a girl like you could
What do you
never-
mean, a girl like me?
Your mother was a woman with no common sense. Of course, your father was a man without a conscience.
There are some like really wonderful lines in this introductory scene. I love the card catalog behind her as well, but he's not a dick, he's a patron. Might just, I think, need to be on a t-shirt. That is so good. I've also never met a library patron who was annoyed at books being out of sequence. Mainly they're the ones putting them out of sequence, so I don't know if things have just changed a lot since the 1990s or if someone who is not a librarian was the one writing the script, because that's not how that works usually, unfortunately. This is a really heavy-handed way of introducing who Mary is and her backstory and how her godmother thinks of their family. But that's more for like storytelling and movie critics, whereas I'm just literally looking at this for librarian and how that works. She's very strict as a librarian. Also, I don't think anyone has ever been paid a competitive wage in a library. Unfortunately, that has stayed the same. Library assistants, which is what we would call them now, are usually paid hourly. They're not even full-time, and I've not been paid minimum wage when it comes to these jobs, but because you work so few hours, depending on like when you're starting out, sometimes it feels like that because the accumulation of your hours does not pay enough that you can just do one library job. When I first started, I was working at 3 different libraries, and then once I accumulated some experience doing that, I was able to move to jobs that gave better hours and better pay. Also, Mary yelling in the middle of the library and bringing food to someone working is very funny to me. We were never allowed to accept food from patrons. I don't know if it's different with your family, but she did not look very impressed. I mean, really, my main focus here is the card catalog and the fact that everyone can hear what their conversation is about. And I love the other, I'm assuming, librarian giving her, just enjoying the show to the maximum. Very, very fun. Very fun.
You think I couldn't be a librarian?
Darling, a librarian is a professional with a master's degree in library science, even a clerk who merely shelves and stamps.
Okay, I know I was just here, but that is very good because it's true. You can have volunteers at libraries or even people who work in libraries who don't have their degree, but I'm proud of the fact that I have a master's, even though some classes that I took made it seem like being a librarian didn't need certain classes, that if you had been in a library you could have passed them. But I like that she's kind of confronting her with the fact that you don't know what a librarian is and you don't know what a librarian does because you are not a librarian. And I think that more people should realize that. Maybe my job would be easier if they did.
Couldn't be a library clerk?
Your mother was a woman with no common sense.
You think I couldn't be a library clerk?
A library clerk is smart, responsible.
You don't think I'm smart enough to work in your fucking library?
I think nothing of the sort.
You're ashamed of me. Judy, you're my only family, and you're ashamed of me.
Fine. You can start right now.
Fine, I will. Great.
Wanda, this is my goddaughter, Mary. She's our newest clerk.
I assume you're familiar with the Dewey Decimal System?
Oh, Wanda's a badass. I want to be Wanda when I grow up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the Dewey Decimal System, if you're not familiar with it, goodness gracious. We use Library of Congress at my current library, and yeah, people still get lost, but either system, once you get used to it, it makes a lot of sense. But her wide-eye fear is very funny to me, and also probably very relatable for someone who has not tried to make sense of the system before and who has not asked a librarian for help, because Wanda does not look like she is helping. She looks like she is reveling in the mess that is going on before her.
These interlibrary loans are going to be the death of me.
You should hear my professor on the subject.
Oh, I can imagine. I wish I were in school now. The new technology, it's so exciting.
So she was 100% like cosplaying being a librarian there, or maybe just being very hungover. I couldn't really say, but I would wear everything that they're all wearing. They look very comfy. And that sound with the oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. All of the stamping, all of everything that used to go into putting together, and still goes into putting together books that can be checked out, is just so good. Plus, once you get a rhythm of like actually how you're doing it, it can be very satisfying, and the sounds can actually sound like that in terms of that should be the beat for her friend's next demo CD or whatever. Demo tape, sorry. I've actually worked in libraries where we still use stamp pads like that. We had self-inking like date due stamps, which is always fun. There are places that, you know, just give you the receipt. So I thought it was really cool that I got to work in kind of an old school place. And we had the actual stamps for when we're withdrawing books. So the exact opposite of what they were doing there. Once you're out of school, it is kind of interesting to see how students of library sciences are continuing with their schooling. Even just other librarians taking different courses through their master's degree, it can be really interesting to compare and contrast notes. So I love that they had that conversation about, I wish I was in school now. I am very glad to be out of school. I do have to say that. It's very nice to just be a professional. This whole scene was very fun.
Origins and Species.
Pardon?
Origins and Species.
Oranges and peaches? Why don't you look over there? Under periodicals, under food. I know we have connoisseur. I'm not sure about oranges and peaches, but maybe it's on microfiche, which is down the hall and to the left.
Origin of Species. Howard, would you get the Darwin book, please? Dear, patrons often mistake clerks for librarians. It's best just to say, I don't know, and refer them to Howard or me. That is actually very good advice, especially if you've just started a new job. Saying I don't know is not a bad thing, because people are coming to you for information, and if the best of your information is, my colleague can better help you, that's actually very good advice.
When you're finished with those,
Okay, so I know that a lot of the time you will have whole shelves of new books by authors like Patterson. Yeah, he gets a lot of space, a lot of shelf space. Lee Child, also another one who gets a lot of shelf space. You know, popular and authors who produce a lot and publish a lot and therefore are known by a lot of like general patrons. Something tells me you don't need this many books about the myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus, because that's in translation, and unless this is all in her head, which it could be, just I got some questions for that.
I know it is not your life's work, but for your information, Freud's study of Dora is not a biography. It is the cornerstone of his psychoanalysis. That's psychology, dear. The psychology section is, for your information, in the 100s, along with philosophy and logic. It amazes me how you can come here every day and absorb no knowledge of the system. A trained monkey learned this system on PBS in a matter of hours. Recode it.
I don't know why they have the clerk who hasn't worked in a library before doing the actual cutters. Those can be kind of complicated, especially before the internet, where you cannot look up what other libraries have categorized it as. So that seems like it's actually her fault and not Mary's. If it was shelved in the wrong place, sure, you can yell at your goddaughter about that, but it seems like Mary was the one actually cataloging it, which I would say is a bad idea. Sneaking into work after hours does not seem like a good idea, Mary. She is wearing gloves though, so hopefully they won't be able to trace it back to her. Just, oh. I know that this job is like personal because she got it as a result of being the librarian's goddaughter, but this is so unprofessional. Oh, and she's not wearing gloves. I was wrong. Oh no, and now she's lighting something on fire. Here's the thing. People do tend to treat the library like it is their own home or an extension of their own space, but this is the most egregious example of that I have ever seen. Oh my gosh, sweet pea. Baby. That text is so dense it would not make any sense if you were reading it sober, and you have two different types of non-sober things affecting your system. Ooh, bless her, but bad idea.
Classification provides a system for organizing a universe of items, be they objects, concepts, or records.
Yeah, she's definitely not sober. She thinks that that sounds inspiring. I feel like people don't actually read those. They're more for consultation. At least the way that I've ever used it is more for consultation and like when you actually need to create the call number than for just like casual late night reading. Of all of the texts on like library science that she could have picked up, I think that is the least interesting. So we have seen Mary borrow at least one book from this library, and I hope that she borrowed it and didn't just walk off with it because circulation stats, but it was one of the copies of Sisyphus. And in this scene, she looks like she's never been in the stacks before, and it is cracking me up.
Arts and recreation. Yes, Mama. I know what's going on.
She's shelving. She's not being paid for these hours, but she's shelving. I am proud of her for knowing how the card catalog works because I've never had to use one, so I don't know how the card catalog works. But no, with your feet, oh, I take it back. I really don't miss being a library clerk and having one of those really long printouts of either books that you have to pull for patrons, books that have been placed on hold somewhere in the system. It's just, it feels never ending. The list that I would have, they'd be like, okay, well, you're doing page like 5 to page 10, and then you're probably off, and pass it off to the next person. They very much feel never ending. She seems to be getting through it way quicker than I would expect, but just know that those lists still happen and are the devil.
Excuse me. What are you doing?
I think this is the scene that I have been told to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, you. Were you just putting that book away? It looked like you were just putting that book away. I guess you didn't know we have a system for putting books away here. No, I'm curious. You were just randomly putting that book on the shelf, is that it?
I do hate when people do that because then when the next person goes to look for it, or if we go to look for it for the next patron who wants to check out a book, it is suddenly impossible to find it because usually it's not even in the same general area as where it's supposed to be. So I understand her anger, but we do not yell at patrons, even if sometimes we wish we could.
You've just given us a great idea. I mean, why are we wasting our time with the Dewey Decimal System when your system is so much easier? Much easier. We'll just put the books anywhere. Hear that, everybody? Our friend here has given us a great idea. We'll just put the books any damn place we choose.
We definitely don't swear at patrons, Mary.
We haven't taken a break all morning.
That is the nicest way of saying get the fuck out of the desk. Get off the desk now.
Take a break.
I just want to do a good job, Howard.
You are doing a good job. Take a break. I'll cover.
Oh, Howard's a good manager. If he's her manager. He's a good person who's ahead of her in terms of his career. Look at him. Having compassion instead of yelling at her because she was yelling at someone else.
I was all, honey, please. It wasn't even published in Cuba. Okay.
It's a conspiracy, all right.
Were you able to find anything?
Sharing funny patron stories with your coworkers is genuinely the best thing in the entire world, so I'm really glad that they had that little moment. That's really cute.
There's a few books to get you started. There's tons of studies on twins, but these focus solely on the made-up languages, identical versus fraternal, male versus female, etc. Now, I threw in the dual voice sings, just for fun. It's a book of songs composed exclusively by twins.
Fraternal.
Identical.
Oh, I can't wait.
So glad I could help you.
When you are able to find something that is like so niche for someone, that is the feeling. The whole smugness and like just for fun that she did. That's it. That's the feeling. It's so good.
Judy says I should take over.
Why?
What does she want Mary to do?
Guess.
This is ridiculous. Why did you take me off the desk?
It's so busy, and you're such a speedy little shelver.
God, don't patronize me, Judy. Yeah, I know I'm the fastest shelver here. That doesn't mean it's the only thing I can do. And don't give me that. You're
Look at her go! She's got the librarian bug. She's so excited about interacting with patrons, which is much more fun than shelving, to be sure. But being able to be the faster shelver is like something to be proud of, really.
only a clerk rap, because Wanda's only a clerk. You've got her doing the Scientific American overhaul, and you invited her to that acquisitions conference. She's always at the desk. She's always coding. I haven't coded one single book since
we had that problem.
It was my first week, Judy.
I feel like that was probably a patron who shushed them because contrary to media portrayal. Librarians don't actually shush very often, or at least we don't anymore. Maybe in 1995 they did, but I just love how much she loves this now, that she wants to go to the conferences and she wants to do the cataloging and she wants to do the fun parts of the job, like being on the desk as opposed to just the rote mechanical things you can do in your sleep. The fact that she's, oh, this is so great. I do not enjoy this look though. I think her other outfits were more fun, and I'm not sure if they're trying to make her look more like a typical librarian, even though the print is kind of wild and fun. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like she could walk a middle line there. Honestly, the set is really good. Like, I know they're having a heart-to-heart or whatever, but I'm just very distracted by the fact that they genuinely look like they're in a small-town library. I guess they must have filmed on location, because that's too good to be a set piece, right? Especially with the bookend right in front of them. Those things are very necessary. But we had way too many of them at my last library, and a bag full of those is the heaviest, most awkward, pointiest, worst thing to carry in your entire life. Just in case anyone was wondering.
I'm here in the library.
I usually go to the 8.
I go earlier.
Should check out the 8. Beautiful people.
I bet.
I connect with that meeting, you know? There are a lot of people at the 8 whose issues. But today, I couldn't make it, you know? I couldn't wait till I was so close to us. I even went by the club.
It's gonna be fine. Really. You can do it. I know you can.
This is very much other duties not listed in your job description. Although I don't think she ever got a job description. I think she was just kind of hired on the spot. But libraries are community spaces, and as a result, they house different kinds of meetings and people in crisis as well. So this, I'm not sure how they're going to be handling it, because she was very flippant with her, you can do it, I know you can. But at the moment, it feels like it's a good inclusion. I'm just worried to see how Mary will actually interact.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renee, and I'm a goddamn alcoholic. Hi, Renee.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm sorry, I need a drink.
Yep, not handled well. Not handled well. Just... But correct in that those kind of meetings could take place in a library.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm looking for information on teaching.
The clerk under that counter can help you. Remember to turn off all the computers and close all the windows. Good night.
I just love Howard. This movie should be about Howard. Oh, he's good. She's so dedicated now. She goes early, she stays late. Although she has been kind of stalking this guy, so I don't love that because it's the romance of the movie. And librarians get hit on a lot and asked out a lot when they're at their jobs. So I don't know why she is doing the same to him at his job.
The United States, every state has different laws.
America.
Don't knock it, baby. It's the land of milk and honey.
I was just saying how librarians get sexualized and asked out and hit on at work because of that, and now here we are. Don't make out in the stacks, especially not when you're the only one on duty and the library is supposed to be closed and there shouldn't even be patrons in there. Mary! We got a fade to black moment. in the library? Mary, Jesus Christ, this is, again, a new, most unprofessional thing you could have done.
We trusted you to lock up, and you left the windows open.
I am so sorry. How many were ruined?
At least 30. I found 5 that are out of print.
To be fair, however, I think some of the blame lies on shelving placement, because those windows, like, where were the books even? I don't understand where they were shelved and how they were close enough to get that wet from a rainstorm. I did work somewhere where it was a climate controlled room and the back wall could get a little damp, and that was worse, but it wasn't anyone's fault. Especially not when it's like an act of weather, an act of nature that damages the books, not necessarily an individual person. So I understand that she's upset, but I think she's being a little bit harsher than she would be with anyone else because it's Mary and they're related.
Look in there. I'm happy to see you're practicing safe sex.
Judy, Mustafa surprised.
Oh, okay, now she knows about the other part. That is a good reason to be upset. Okay, yeah, never mind, I take it back.
Here is a card from an early card catalog. See that handwriting? Look at the flowery script. That's what young lady librarians were taught. Penmanship.
I am sorry.
Melville Dewey hired women as librarians because...
Okay, let's not make Dewey seem like a good guy. I hope that that's not where she's going with this. Because while we still use the system, the guy has been recognized as like an actual... Since he's not a patron, I think we're just gonna have to call him a dick.
He believed the job didn't require any intelligence. It was a woman's job.
That's not my fault.
That means it's underpaid and undervalued. This country has more illiteracy than some of the most underdeveloped nations. Even Americans who can read don't. They watch movies, they watch television,
Okay, so it started off really well. But then it took a weird turn, because libraries also do have movies and TV shows as part of what they offer. So any kind of media is good media. Not necessarily good in terms of what it provides, but good in terms of the librarian should not be berating someone for not reading. We'd like it if you read, in addition to your other pursuits. So at the beginning of this, I was like, oh, why is this one not hyped up as like the monologue to keep an eye out for? But now I know why. Back to the library we go.
Happy birthday, Mary. You look terrible.
I need to talk to you.
I'm working. Oh, and I've got you on the waiting list for the new Danielle Steele.
Another of the authors that would probably have a full bookshelf of their things on availability, because there's probably more than one person waiting on that waiting list for the new Danielle Steele. See, those are more, they're much smaller than the DDC and probably written in a way that is more engaging. Library instruction. Also, those are hardback versions of textbooks, which are so much better. We have so many paperback versions of textbooks in the library where I currently work, and they are the bane of my existence, because if you pull out one, the entire shelf just like, and I'm doing the inventory right now, and so it's a lot of things just all over the place and falling off the shelves, and it's very frustrating. So I have beef with publishing companies that do that. And it's also probably our fault because they're less expensive and we buy them in bulk, but still it's the worst.
You want the best program for the least money in the shortest amount of time.
Absolutely.
Oh, please. You went to Columbia. You think you'd be working here if you went to some dinky small town program?
I say Michigan. I did my undergraduate there. Ann Arbor is so much fun.
I don't want to leave New York.
Well, don't. You're going public, right?
Public libraries, as in non-academic. Howard doesn't approve of academia. He thinks it's for wimps.
It is.
I am sick of your reverse snobbery. Just because a person might want to live in a pleasant, non-urban setting doesn't mean they're selling out.
No one's gonna clock that. I love that they're giving her advice though. This is great. This is great. This is what we did before YouTube, I'm assuming.
In Ithaca at Cornell.
How do you feel about the Senate? I don't know. There's a Washington-based program that my friend runs. I think it would be perfect for you, Mary. It's a little
Although they're not really listening to her at all. She doesn't want to leave New York.
competitive, but she's an excellent connect.
We love a community of librarians.
She's hit rock bottom.
So now she is actually cosplaying as a librarian in all black and like glasses, the whole shebang, because she wants her job back, which is just very funny to me. At least this is better than the weird all beige outfit she had rocking.
Judy, there's been a mix-up. Derek and Leo threw me the surprise party without my permission.
Are you her sponsor?
We do the piñata?
She is really like swinging from one end to the other because now she's like, no party, no party, no party, everyone leave. And surely she can find a happy medium between the fun clothes and having a social life and wanting to be a librarian.
No, I'm a relative.
Not now, Carl.
My name is Kurt, not Kurt.
Perfect. Do you know what a crisis intervention is?
I want my job back.
This is not an appropriate
You
time.
haven't heard my plan.
This is called tough love, Mary.
What's up, Ben?
I want my job back. I want a career in library science.
You go! Go, Mary, go! This is gonna be bad, though. This is really not the appropriate time for this, sir.
Which one of you is mayor?
Just have a feeling.
I am.
Yeah.
This isn't my party.
Yeah, then how come I've been getting all those complaints about you? You've been bad. Very, very bad.
Yep.
What are you talking about?
I'm taking you downtown.
We are downtown. Officer, you haven't even read her rights.
A love slave has no rights.
Yep. 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 Oh no. Oh no. I don't know how much of this I'm gonna be able to show, but the fact that someone's actively stripping on her and she's yelling, "I'm serious about graduate school," is peak comedy. Peak librarian-based comedy. Her godmother also does look like she's having an absolute blast, so I don't know, maybe it's turning into the right time?
I want to be a librarian.
Stop with the lies and manipulations.
This is about me.
You showed no respect for me or for the library.
That's not true. She was very into that library. She lent me a book from there on body piercing.
That's nothing. Look, she set up my whole collection by the John Dewey system.
Melville.
Yeah, and I redid it so it was by beats per minute. You know, with the other stuff?
Cross-listed.
Yes, cross-listed. Look, there are over 2,000 albums here. So will you give her job back?
Oh, I love her friend sticking up for her. The scene where she categorized his albums was just really fun as well. But I will let you discover that for yourself if you do watch this video.
No, I won't.
Why not?
Because she had sex in the library.
Sex addiction.
Mary.
Everyone is like, oh, how could you? And the guy in the back with the oh no.
In the library did you have sex? The romance language section.
Hello, where'd you come from?
Mary did research for me at the library.
What kind of research?
To become a certified teacher in this country. Loans, grants, scholarships, everything.
When did that happen? That didn't happen on screen. So when they faded to black, did they do research in addition to making use of their safe sex that then her godmother found? Because you could have shown that part, unless they were doing it in the bath, which is just not what you're supposed to do. That is not best practices for research, Mary.
Where did you look?
Oh, and now this is turning into a test of her skills as a librarian. Oh no.
First, I covered the basics, the UN, Board of Ed, the Encyclopedia of Associations, CUNY. Then I checked certification requirements for teachers of secondary and elementary schools, 58th edition. I telnetted the NicerNet Gopher and FTP, the most recent.
She's having her moment, and you know, she's doing it well, but I do have to say, once a research request has been handled, I don't usually remember how I handled it, because like, it's done. You don't have to. And it's not your information that you're interested in, it's just titles. And yeah, maybe it was different when you didn't have the internet and like you actually had to find those titles, but I call script writing on this one.
Recent amendments for New York State teacher certification requirements. And then I called the reference desk at the main branch, and they said I'd covered my bases.
She's good. Very thorough.
Yes, she is, and yes, she is. Good job, guys.
I would never get all this for myself.
Come on, Judy.
Judy, give her a break.
Is this what you really want? Really?
Good. You know what? Very good to check, because, like, it is, I think librarianship is one of those things that is very much like a calling. Or maybe like not that serious. Like, you're not going into the field for the big bucks is essentially what I'm thinking of here. You don't normally accidentally become a librarian. So the fact that she's like, okay, this is a weird set of circumstances. Are you sure? Is good mentor behavior. Well done, Aunt Judy.
I'll do it. Yay! Happy birthday, Mary.
Thank you.
That's really sweet. That's really sweet. Oh, okay, maybe I guess she can work with family, especially once they get to know each other. Oh, instead of treating her like her mother, a woman with no sense. I don't know if you caught that. And that's that as far as the library scenes go from Party Girl. Overall, I don't think the film itself is the best thing I've ever seen. It's definitely dated. And there's some parts that are just not great. And also subplots that I just did not really care about. So I did fast forward through certain things just because it's like, okay, get me to the library parts, because they were honestly the best parts of the film. I might be biased. I am definitely biased, but those were my favorite parts of this movie. If you do want to watch it yourself and form your own opinions, again, you can currently watch it for free on Pluto TV as long as you don't mind advertisements. So I hope you enjoyed this librarian's look at some librarian media from 1995. If you did, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you have any suggestions for other librarian-ish stuff that you would like me to react to, I'd love to do so. And yeah, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye.